With us now are Liz and Amanda, and we're going to be talking about Tourette's. Welcome to the show, both of you. It's nice to see you again, and it's nice to meet you, Liz. So you recently finished having a gala, and you did quite well. Where was it? What was it? Tell us all about it.
So it was our 50th anniversary gala.
Yay!
So the Tourette Association of America has been serving people for 50 years. So there was much to celebrate. It happened last Thursday at Tribeca Rooftop, and it really was just such a wonderful event. It was our first one post-pandemic where we could really get folks back together to celebrate this wonderful occasion.
So Liz, what was some of the highlights for the night?
Oh, the highlights of the night. The program was just it really just brought into focus why we do what we do. We got to see one of our longtime board members honored by her son for the way that she, just has been a champion for him. It was just really moving.
Wow. That is beautiful because you don't really think about that. And a lot of times board members are also parents, sometimes people that work at an association, either have Tourette's themselves or, right, they know someone that does. And I think sometimes when people choose to work into those fields, it's because sometimes they have their own personal why.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Because you could grow up to be anything you want, right? But why work for a nonprofit or why work for a certain association? So congratulations to both of you. So you're fairly new there, Liz, right?
I am.
What made you say yes when the offer came in?
Sure. So I'm the kind of person who needs to buy in, and it's more about the why rather than, I really need to believe in what I'm doing. And I've worked with Amanda before, and I know that she's a great leader. And then when I just learned more about the organization and about the work that we're doing, helping kids and helping families who are recently diagnosed and all the way to living their whole life with this syndrome, it was just really important to me to be able to help that.
Now, Amanda, is there a certain age, when you talked about diagnosis, is there a certain age that Tourette's starts to show up? What is that window?
Well, symptoms of Tourette syndrome can arrive as early as 2 years old.
Okay.
But typically it's diagnosed between the ages of 5 and 7.
Okay. So here the child is starting kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and something's a little askew.
As you can imagine, those are our most formative years. So for those who may not know, Tourette syndrome manifests through vocalizations and movements that we call tics. They're largely involuntary. They are involuntary. And it can take quite a bit of time before folks really do get a diagnosis. You can jump from a pediatrician to a specialist to finally you arrive upon a neurologist, and that's generally where you get the diagnosis. So about 1 in 50 children right now are living with Tourette syndrome or tic disorder, and half of those are going undiagnosed.
Interesting. Can stress bring on certain tics that might not be Tourette's? Right. So what I mean by that is sometimes, you'll see a child or whatever, and maybe they're going through like a hormonal thing or something, right? And they'll have like a weird scratch or they'll have like a weird tick, and you think that, maybe you have Tourette's, but then you find out that they don't. So is that why it's hard to diagnose sometimes?
Well, yes, it's not uncommon developmentally for children to have what we call transient tics.
Okay.
So that's fairly typical, which is why getting a diagnosis can be so tricky for those living with Tourette syndrome or a persistent tic disorder. You really, in order to get a Tourette syndrome diagnosis, you need to have both vocal and motor tics for at least a year.
Wow, really?
Yes, and because tics will change, sometimes it's very tricky because you don't necessarily know that it's a tic, right? If you have an eye blinking tic, maybe it's dry eyes. That's what's usually thought. If you clear your throat a lot, maybe you have allergies. So it's a very nuanced condition. And then when you layer that upon the co-occurring conditions like ADHD and OCD, right, those conditions may manifest even more in a classroom setting.
Okay.
And so you might get that primary diagnosis, and then the tics are not being looked at as involuntary, rather they're actually being considered deliberate, which is where a lot of children get treated for behavioral issues, even though what they're doing is not behavioral in nature. So it's a very nuanced condition, which is why I think so many folks really struggle to get the services that they need.
So it needs to be both, information, awareness, having people. Now, do they check for that at schools, or is it as a parent your responsibility to say, well, you know what? Maybe, you're getting out of the bathtub and something's, you're having a meltdown or whatever, or, are those muscle twitches? Like, why do you keep doing that with your shoulder, right?
Well, parents often see it first, right? We're always the ones that notice it first. But the luckiest among us have teachers who are really dialed in and really tuned in and will notice something and note the observation so that there is a secondary perspective on what's going on and how it's affecting the day-to-day life of the child.
And as an organization, I know the national headquarters are placed here also in Long Island, right? Or you would say the New York region area. Because sometimes people from Queens don't think that they're part of Long Island, but they kind of are, right?
On the island
it's
of
on
Long.
the island of Long. But either way, nationally, right? Have you seen an increase, Liz, in Tourette's? Is it on the rise for some reason, or is it just more diagnosis?
Sure. I mean, so nationally, we have people all over, doing great work in their communities, running these chapters that are volunteer-led, running support groups for folks. And, definitely in the time that I've been here, we've seen trends. So in August and September, we got the calls to our information and referral hotline went way up for help. I need help in education. I need help with my child's school. Can you tell them anything? Can you help me with this? So we've seen, we see these trends kind of come into our hotline.
And I know you also do like a lunch and learn, or you're available to go to a PTA meeting so that you can do a presentation for them. So schools could reach out to you to say, hey, come be a guest speaker at our school.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Schools reach out to us, and we either have one of our program leads, or we've got a network of volunteers who can either go in person or virtually to do this kind of education and in-service.
And speaking of,
I'm sorry,
ahead.
and
Okay.
I just want to say,
Yeah.
it's not just schools,
Right.
too. We go to corporations to educate human resource departments, because Tourette syndrome is a lifelong condition.
Okay.
So it manifests early in childhood. That's when we first see it. That's when it's first diagnosed. But it really is a lifelong condition that can affect relationships in the workplace, in your personal life. So we provide trainings for doctors, we provide trainings for educators, we provide trainings for employers. It really runs the gamut. And these services are all free of charge to the public because of the generosity of our supporters.
Yes, congratulations. I know that you raised over $1 million, but you could use $1 million more, right?
Oh, easily.
Right, easily.
Easily.
And I know the other thing that you do when you had mentioned virtually is that you have a really strong social media presence. So someone can go there, they could get information, you have some fun things for them to do. So even if someone doesn't have Tourette's, if they just want to learn more, that would be a good place for them to start. Just the awareness can uplift everyone.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you a personal experience. And
Yes.
Personal experience. I don't know what Liz's experience has been, but when I first joined the Tourette Association, I quickly had 5 people who I considered close friends disclose that their children had been diagnosed with a tic disorder or Tourette syndrome. So I really do think education and conversation, it's really the thing that brings about compassion and understanding
And
I
acceptance.
think, and acceptance.
And acceptance. I thank you both for being here, Amanda and Liz. Thank you so very much. Like I said, I know someone that is now, playing music full time. They're very famous, and I met them when they were a little boy, and they have Tourette's, and it's just something that you have, but you can deal with it, right? If you have the awareness and the compassion. Thank you so much. Please stay tuned. We've been living it up right here. If you would like more information about the Tourette syndrome, please go to their website to learn more. Thanks for watching.